Hello, scholars, and welcome to week 2 of Write Well, Not Good. So just before we get into week 2 agenda, just want to point out a few things. Remember that this program is all about what you're putting into it. So I can coach you along, but I can't coach you if I don't have anything to work with. So I understand it's summer, you came out of maybe virtual environment or hybrid environment for the 2021 school year, but I do just want to plant those seeds. And I look at this as planting seeds that although it may not make sense now, that I'm planting those seeds in your spirit. So when school begins, you'll be familiar with some of the concepts that we're talking about that will continue to elevate your level of writing well, not good. So remember that every week, and I'm going to try and be consistent as much as possible, every day you should try and spend 15 to 20 minutes doing the exercises or the writing drills that I'm providing you. So Tuesdays is usually vocabulary, Wednesday are sentences, and then this week, our live session will be on Wednesday at 12 noon. So those of you that may have activities in the afternoon, you may not have been able to join me last Thursday at 5 p.m., but I did record it and hopefully you listened to it. I know there was an issue with the vocabulary exercise. So I have made every effort to make sure that's not an issue for this week's vocabulary practice. And speaking of vocabulary, again, remember, these are words that I've taken it from a list that says every high schooler should know these particular words. There's actually 25 to 30, but I've chosen the top 25 each week for you to incorporate in your vocabulary. So don't just practice it with your writing, but practice it in your conversations with your parents, friends, coworkers, if you're happen to be working, coaches, whatever, but try and practice using those words in your everyday life. You'll be surprised that when you deliberately try and practice it, they come out automatically in your vernacular. All right, so let's get into this week's overview. So in this week, week 2, I like to call it moving on. So last week we talked about parts of speech, right? The 8 parts of speech: nouns, pronouns, adjectives, verbs, adverbs, prepositions, conjunctions, interjections. And let me just point out as well, some of you in your personal narratives, I know in the video last week, I said, because it's a personal narrative, you want to use the pronouns I, me, right? So I'm Miss Lewis. If I'm talking about myself, I'm going to say, I do this, and this belongs to me, and I pick up my cell phone. So all of those those pronouns that are specific to me, I, me, my. So you want to be very deliberate in using those personal pronouns when you're specifically writing about yourself, all right? You don't want to ever use the pronoun you in your essays unless you're writing something that you're writing instructions to someone. So let's say you're writing instructions on how to play a video game or how to play a certain sport. So if you're writing something like that, then you will most definitely want to use the pronoun you. But for all the writing that we are doing over these next couple weeks, you will not use the pronoun you, okay? If you have any questions about that, please feel free to ask in this week's live. All right, and we talked about parts of the sentence: subject, verb, all right? Now you probably have learned the full subject, the simple subject, full subject, the simple predicate or verb, or the full verb phrase. And we will get into that. But for the most part, the parts of a sentence is the subject and the verb. That's what makes up a sentence. You know that a group of words standing together as a unit is a phrase. So a phrase has no subject or verb, and a clause has a subject and a predicate. Predicate is just synonymous with a verb. Last week, we talked about every single sentence. So every sentence you wrote in your personal narrative fell into one of these 4 categories: a simple sentence, a compound sentence, complex, or compound complex. Now, I had you focus on just the simple and compound, just for the sake of just digesting the fact that neither one of those have what's called subordinate clauses or dependent clauses, as you see in the slide here. All right. And so it's these dependent clauses that we're going to zone in today. I also wanted to show you that there's only 4 types of sentences you can write. So there's 4 structured. So there's 4 types of sentences you can write, but then there's 4 types of sentences that indicate its purpose. So a declarative sentence, it tells something, it ends with a period. An interrogative sentence asks a question, it ends with a question mark. An exclamatory sentence shows strong feeling. Sometimes folks will use exclamation points. If not, they use a period. And then an imperative sentence is one that gives a command, and it can end with a period or an exclamation mark as well. All right. So for example, you can have a interrogative simple sentence. It asks a question. If I just say, how are you? Question mark, that's ask a question, but it's one independent clause, right? You can have an exclamatory sentence that's compound. You did well and you jammed on that test. That's a compound sentence, two independent clauses. All right, so hopefully you understand how those all flow together. We will talk about how the comma is a very important part of compound sentences. Just like in this example, I kicked the ball, comma, and it hit Tom. So it separates the two independent clauses as long as has a conjunction to join them, right? This comma also comes into play with complex sentences, all right? In this particular instant, it doesn't, but I could also revert this sentence. So it says Tom cried because the ball hit him. All right. So it's a complex sentence because Tom cried could be its own independent clause. But this word because is a subordinate conjunction. So that makes because the ball hit him a dependent clause. This sentence could be reworded, excuse me. The sentence could say because the ball hit him, comma, Tom cried. So we will look at how dependent clauses can be arranged to be at the beginning of a sentence or at the end of the sentence. And if it's at the beginning of the sentence, then a comma would need to follow it. All right. So let's take a look at week 2 words. Discrepancy, fleeting, spontaneous, antagonize, and incremental. So last week, I gave you the definitions for the words. This week, I want you to take some time and look them up for yourselves, all right? Look at the part of speech and just take whatever, sometimes in the dictionary, they give you various definitions. I want you to pick the definition that stands out to you the most, all right? Or the one that you understand the most. Sometimes they'll give you synonyms and it's like, still you don't understand what it means. And if none of the definitions make sense, then look it up again and go to a different source or look at how it's used in a sentence. So Google does a great job. If you Google words, it not only gives you a definition, but it also will give you a sample sentence. So either one of those should work, whether you use a dictionary, online dictionary, or if you just Google, you can put in like discrepancy definition, and it will give you the part of speech, the definition, and a sample sentence. And then we will go over those in Wednesday live. All right, discrepancy, fleeting, spontaneous, antagonize, and incremental. So I wanted to share with you week 2's overview. I'm sorry I didn't do this earlier. I get so excited, I just skip ahead. But you'll see, obviously today's the opening video. We're going to talk about the argumentative essay overview. So I didn't put anything really for you to do today other than just view today's video, and then you'll get into the vocabulary and sentences. All right, so we will start the Wednesday, in the Wednesday live session, we will begin writing the argumentative essay. So let me give you an overview of what the argumentative essay looks like. All right. So we're going to do this in little steps. All right. This might be your first exposure to writing an argumentative essay, but let me tell you why this isn't going to be difficult for you. Many of us get into arguments, even whatever it's about, right? So argument is the root word of argumentative. So you're actually putting an argument into writing, and look at the definition. It says an argumentative essay uses reasoning, logic, and evidence, not emotion, to take a definitive stand on a controversial or debatable issue. The essay explores two sides of a topic and provides why one side or position is the best. So in other words, I'm going to give you a topic, all right? And you're going to basically take a stance on that topic. And as a result, from your stance, you're going to write your thesis, which is your position, all right? And you're going to identify the reasons why you feel so strongly on that position. But the other part to this is you're also going to look at the other side, right? And identify why the other side might take a position or might take the opposite position of yours. So, and then look at the reasons why, and you're going to actually write a rebuttal. So we're going to do this writing in two parts. We're going to start it this week, and then we'll pick up the second part next week. This is one of the important pieces of writing in not only high school, but if your plans are to go to college, you will do a lot of argumentative writing, and or if you pursue debate, you will use these same skills as a part of your debate. So again, just to show you a little example, the topic, and I'm sorry, I scrolled past the topic, but it's basically, where is my topic? It basically asks the writer to take a position on social media and whether social media is causing issues with making children more lazy. So in this sample, it says Americans' use of social media is disintegrating social customs, creating a lazier, more distracted society, and making it easier for sexual predators to prey on children. So the two sides, in this particular case, this writer has chosen that social media sites are more harmful to our society than they are helpful. The other side is social media sites are very beneficial to our society. So you see that they've taken opposite sides, or that the writer has considered his or her stance and then also looked at the opposing side. And so again, we'll dive into this in more detail next week. All I want you to do is simply just look at it the way the argumentative essay is structured. And then when we go live on Wednesday, I'm actually going to give you the topic, and I'm going to give you ways to start your introductory paragraph and writing your thesis statement. So that's going to be our writing focus of this week. What I want you to practice at this point is vocabulary, and then you're also going to go into this sentence practice exercise. Last week it was simple and compound. You'll do the complex and compound complex sentences this week. So you review it. And then I would like for you to actually, after you read through these first two pages, right? Complex sentence, compound complex sentence. You can go through these exercises just to make sure you have a good grasp of complex and compound complex sentences. And then I would like for you to complete this exercise on page 3. It says chapter review, identifying the 4 kinds of sentence structures. So they've given you some sentences and you have to identify them as simple, compound, complex, or compound complex. And you're simply counting up clauses, right? So I'm going to do number 1 with you. So everybody should get number 1 right. And then we'll go over the answers on Wednesday. So my aunt discovered a skunk under her porch and called the Humane Society for help in removing it. All right. So your first question needs to be, okay, what is my subject? Or what are my verbs? So sometimes it's easier for you to identify verbs. So if you want to identify verbs first, you'll see discovered and called, right? So discovered a skunk under her porch, called the Humane Society for help in removing it. So there's 2 verbs, discovered and called. Well, who's doing the discovering and calling? My aunt. So there's just one subject. Yes, there's a compound verb because she's doing 2 things. She discovered the skunk and she called the Humane Society. So it's just simply a simple sentence. All right. There's just one clause. One clause can have one subject and multiple verbs. But if the subject is doing multiple things, then it's still considered one clause. All right. So number 1 is just a simple sentence. All right. So 2 through 15 are yours. And again, we will go over the answers on this Wednesday live. All right. And just to repeat one more time, you don't have anything particular to do today other than just watching this video. You may want to start your vocabulary practice. Again, you just have the 5 words. Now, if you didn't do the 5 words from last week, then please do that for preparation for this week. I would like to see you incorporating those vocabulary words, especially when we get into the argumentative essay. All right. You have the sentence practice to do, so you need to read it and then complete that exercise. We will go over those answers on Wednesday live, this Wednesday at 12 noon. We'll go over vocabulary and sentences, and then we are going to start your argumentative essay introductory paragraph only. So once you write, so look at Wednesday as once you attend the Zoom session, then that's your work for the day and to begin your introduction. And so Thursday, you want to finalize your introduction, and then you'll submit your introductory essay, your introductory paragraph only with an intention grabber and thesis, and you'll put that in your shared folder with me. This week's first chapter is The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. This is a nonfiction selection, but a lot of people or a lot of students love this nonfiction selection because it just talks about how individuals such as Michael Jordan are what are considered outliers. So again, you'll watch it and then you will submit your response just like you did last Friday. Every Friday will be a different question, but every response is just a short paragraph response. So thank you for those who submitted it. If you forgot, then it's not too late. Feel free to still submit it. And I'll look forward to seeing you all Wednesday at 12 noon. I hope that time and day works for all of you. If not, then I will record it and make it available for you to view at your leisure. All right. So hope everyone's doing well. Sorry you can't see my full sentence, my full t-shirt, but it is a t-shirt that, as you can see, as an English teacher, it gives part of speech, phonetic spelling, and definition. So I hope that you engage in all of the activities this week. This is our second week. We're halfway through. And again, I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. Weeks 3 and 4, I will be scheduling individual sessions with you. By that point, I'll have at least 2 writing samples from you that I can give you some direct advice, let you ask questions just individually, me and you, and then that will help propel you through the last 2 weeks of this intensive. All right, so have a great rest of your Sunday, and I will see you very soon. As always, be well.